Hi guys, my name's Cash and welcome back to another video here on Cashed Out Cars. In today's video, we're taking a look at the interior of Sally, my V8 swapped Miata, and Sally's been getting some upgrades over the last few weeks. The main one that I'm going to be focusing on this video is the seats, which are stock Miata seats that I put new covers on, and this really gave the interior some new life, stylized it, and made it feel a little bit nicer. By the end of this video, you'll know how you could recover seats as well, so if you want to take cloth and put vinyl or leather on it, you'll be able to do that by the end of this video. Let's take a look at these seats and then we'll get into how to do it. Alright, so these here are the stock seat covers that I took off of those old seats. Before I get into the process of how to actually recover seats, I just want to show you what these things look like. So what you're doing is essentially replacing the skin of the seat with new fabric and new foam backing. This seat here has foam backing on some of the parts that you sit on to add an extra little bit of a layer of cushiness, and then it's just cut and shaped fabric that goes over that seat, fits tight to it, and sort of gives it its definition and its style. These cloth seats though, I didn't think were super stylish, especially for a car like this, which is why I recovered it. Now that you know what seat covers like this are, we're gonna get in and talk about the process of reskinning seats. The first thing that you're gonna wanna do is remove the seat from your vehicle. Often there are going to be 4 bolts that hold the seat on, as these seats are on tracks that allow them to slide back and forth. On this one here, you would go ahead and put the seat all the way back, which exposes some bolts that are right down here that go into the floor. Take those bolts out, then you're going to slide your seat, in this case all the way forward, and that will expose some bolts on the back. At that point, you might have some connectors going to your seat that you want to remove. If they're airbag connectors, you want to be extra careful, depower your car, and look up for your specific car how to do that safely. All right, so once your seat's out of your car, you're going to want to start stripping it down, and the first thing is usually to remove the trim and the bracket that holds the seat bottom to the seat back. In this case, there's a few little screws there that you're going to remove from the seat. Some plastic panels will pop off, and then you'll have access to the bracket mechanism. Now this will be different depending on the seat, but on a Miata, there are 2 bolts up here and 2 down here, and 1 rod that runs through the seat to the other side. You'll take all of those out, and then you'll be able to separate the back from the bottom and begin with the actual cover process. Once you get your seat back apart, you could take off your rails if need be. To remove the seat cover from the back and base, there are often 2 methods that are used. One is hog rings like this, which are metal pieces that are clamped around parts of the seat to hold the cover on, and the other is some sort of channel that will slide into a slot on the base. This cover has hog rings, so I'll take you through the process of how to remove them. It's pretty simple, but what you're gonna do is take some wire cutters or diagonal cutters and go ahead and just clip each one of these hog rings. That will break the hog ring so you could remove it from the cover, and the other method is to grab it and twist it so the hog ring sort of comes free. And one more thing with hog rings, you'll probably get all of the ones out around the perimeter of the seat. Try to take the cover off and you'll find that it won't come off. That's because within the seat, there's a bunch of places that hog rings are actually sort of embedded. There are channels here where the fabric of the seat cover is held down into the seat foam. Along those channels, there's often a metal rod within the foam that those hog rings attach to. So you're gonna have to remove those. As a quick disclaimer, if you're watching this video and thinking that it's a lot of work and it's not worth doing to save money, I got a way that you could save money right now, and that is by switching to Mint Mobile, the partner of today's video. Mint Mobile is currently offering premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any speed, data, or quality. I personally made the switch to Mint Mobile about 6 months ago, and I've been saving a ton of money. But it's not just that, the service for Mint Mobile is actually quite good, and in a lot of places better than my old service provider. Saving money on your phone plan means you could spend more money doing things you really want, like recovering seats or buying parts for your project car, and after long enough, you could even save enough to buy a new project car. Currently, there's a special offer going on that you could get their unlimited plan for just $15 a month. After that, the plan goes up to $30 a month, but it's still super inexpensive for unlimited data. Setup is also super easy, and you'll get on their network in no time. It's also no commitment, so there's no reason to not switch. To go ahead and sign up, go to trymintmobile.com/cash. to try Mint Mobile yourself. So this is an example of one of those flaps that sits in the cover and gets those hog rings. So you'll cut those out and then you'll actually be able to take your cover off of the seat. And now with your cover off of the seat, you have a few options. If your seat foam's in good shape, you could go ahead and start installing the cover. But I'm gonna touch on what to do if your seat foam is not in good shape. If it's a small rip in the foam, you could use contact adhesive, spray both sides of the foam, and push it together to sort of repair the seat. This is sort of a temporary repair because if your foam ripped and you glue it back together, that's sort of a weak point within the foam. If you want to do more of a repair, you could cut new foam, layer it over the old foam, glue it on again with contact adhesive, and then begin to recover your seat. Recovering your seat is basically the reverse process of taking your old cover off. So you're gonna wanna start with the last channel that you took off. So if there are channels in the seat, start to put on the one that you took off last first. Then continue that process going through all of the other channels that hold that seat in place within the base. Don't get frustrated if it takes some time. It takes some manipulating of the fabric. You always want to sort of push from the spot that has too much fabric to a spot that has less, and this will allow you to get that cover to sit how you want it. So if your cover is, say, tight over here and you're trying to wrap this down, you're gonna wanna move material from over here somewhere loose towards where you're trying to wrap the cover. This means sort of pushing material like this, and even little motions like this, you could see I'm bunching up material and stretching that into place. One thing that will help you if you're struggling to get the cover on is get it to a spot where you're pretty happy with it and then go put it out in the sun. Vinyls are extremely stretchy, and the hotter they are, the more they'll stretch into place. Another option is using something like a steamer or a hair dryer. A steamer is a good way to transfer heat into a cover in certain spots to sort of form it how you want it, and a hair dryer is a good way to get heat if you don't have sun. And you also don't want to overheat and burn through your cover, because that is a possibility, especially if you're using steam. And now you're ready to put new hog rings onto your seat. To do this, you're gonna need hog ring pliers, which are special pliers made to hold the hog rings and crimp them down into place. Covers like this were cheap ones from eBay, so there weren't really reinforcements and channels for hog rings, so I just went in through the size of the vinyl. But if you buy nicer seat covers, or if you have a seat that has some reinforcements, it'll help the hog rings pull the seat into place without putting a lot of pressure on the fabric. As you're putting on these hog rings, you want to keep sort of flipping the seat, taking a look at what the cover looks like, and making sure that everything is aligned. It's a lot easier to pop a few hog rings than hog ring the whole seat and realize your cover was skewed and that you need to pop those off and redo it. Another thing to keep in mind is if you're using more inexpensive seat covers like these right here, which were about $70 for the pair from eBay, they might not fit 100% perfect, and you might need to get a little bit creative. In my case, I was using some zip ties here to extend the front of the cover down to where I could hog ring it in place, because this cover actually ended up being just slightly too short in the front for these seats, even with a lot of pulling and a lot of heat. So I went with these zip ties to get the cover to relax to where it should have been, rather than stretch the crap out of it and distort the cover. And the last thing to do is just assemble your seat with all of that hardware that you took off, and you want to make sure everything is nice and tight. If there are torque specs for your seat for either the hardware to assemble the seat or to put the seat back into the car, it's a good idea to follow them so you know everything is torqued down properly. Then, congratulations, all that's left to do is enjoy your freshly covered seat.